Thank you very much for that presentation. Lots of information in there. I want to focus on, I guess, the biggest train wreck that's coming down the road, and that is basically our inability in the future to fund growth-related infrastructure on the Toronto water side. So you're essentially saying, if we look at slide 42, that taxpayers, young families, children, they will be subsidizing the development community for their growth-related needs to the tune of $357 million over 10 years.
So we've not programmed that. What we're showing you is a forecast that if you leave the development charge rate as is, and our best guess of projects that need to be constructed, then you would end up with these deficit positions over time.
Right.
Right now, there's two issues. One, we cannot fully recover the full cost by law of some of our growth-related projects. Ratepayers do have to absorb some components of that. Some projects are 100%, and so we try to maximize those. But based on the present funding rates and the projects that we've got in our plan now and that we anticipate will come in the 10-year budget plan, we will be in negative positions in two of the key reserves. So
I'll just ask my question again. If we all anticipate the growth is coming the way it's coming. Will it be?
So that would be entirely up to council to decide whether it wants to proceed with those projects. But if the answer is yes, we have to proceed, it would then be funded out of the capital reserve. Yeah. As I indicated, right now, in order to keep our program balanced and identify that those projects proceed, we have already identified in the capital plan about $200 million worth of monies coming out of the regular reserve to fund some growth-related projects. So that's in the plan now. Our objective is to try to reintroduce that into the development charge discussion that's going to happen and shift that back out.
So let's be clear. This is just on water. We're going to be short $200–300 million over the next 10 years, where taxpayers are on the hook for a very profitable development industry to attain the infrastructure they need to build their buildings. This is what this document is saying. So thank you for that. So can I now go to our finance staff? The Liberal government in the last few years, they did review the development charges bylaw. Is that correct?
Yes, that is in fact correct. The review took place about a year or so ago.
And we spoke loud and clearly to the province on the challenges that a development charges bylaw has that really doesn't speak to the needs of infill sites that Toronto faces versus what greenfield sites face in the GTA?
So the Development Charges Act was enacted about 20 years ago, and it was largely intended to service greenfield types of developments. It wasn't really well suited for urban types of municipalities. We've consistently requested amendments to the Act to allow us to levy a greater share to accommodate the kind of redevelopment that takes place at the City of Toronto. Regrettably, the asks that have been made
fallen on deaf ears?
Years by council has not been completely implemented.
Yep, so it continues to fall on deaf ears. I wonder why that is. So now let me ask you a question. And now we're just talking water, so we're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars just in one division with respect to growth-related infrastructure. So when we undertake our DC bylaw reviews, which we're entitled to, and we have to deal with this provincially legislated Development Charges Act and the restrictions of it, how much of the shortfall do you think we can make up in Toronto Water if we try and squeeze every last element, this $350 million? Have you guys looked at this and said, we're going to squeeze the heck out of this thing and we're still 350 short? Or are you saying we're 350 short, but we're going to have a discussion and see if we can close the gap? And can we close it entirely?
Certainly. So the bylaw has a life expectancy of 5 years. It's expected to expire middle of 2018. So we're coming forward with a background study and a new development charge bylaw for council consideration in January. That will be before the executive committee. I cannot speculate as to what the bylaw rates will be at this time, but certainly the objective is to maximize the rates to the extent permitted by legislation.
By legislation, okay. So you still anticipate that we won't be able to close the gap, and taxpayers and families in the city will be continuing to subsidize the development community in this city,
Through you, Chair.
as reflective of every other year for the last 20
Certainly,
years.
I mean, the
Just a yes
staff
or
have
no.
always attempted to maximize the rates within the prescribed legislative framework, and we continue to do that. And the report that you will see in January will bear that out.
Thank you.